Hello everybody and welcome to our training session. So yeah, if everyone can mute, that's great, and turn their cameras off. We will record it so it's available on our YouTube channel after our marketing team have edited it and made sure it's all nice and pretty. So that'll be uploaded and all our previous sessions are up there. We have booked all of our sessions up until October now. So if anybody wants to join any of those, we can send the prospectus out afterwards so you can have a look at what's available. If there's any questions at all through the chat, please just use the chat box, and I will answer as many as I can. And if I feel that Amanda needs to elaborate on any or they're good, it would be good for her to talk about, I will speak to Mandy. But we welcome any questions and any interaction. So yes, I will hand you over to my colleague Amanda and Laura, who are going to be delivering the training session today, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks, Alice, and good morning, everybody. Today's session is to look at slings that we know have been used in more challenging situations. So we've got a variety, some that are more complex than others. But for more unusual situations, we can talk about the scenarios they have been used for. So hopefully then that you can use that information in your particular situation. So to start with, I'm going to show you the easy access. Now, also, just before we do start, we've moved into a new space. So if there's any regular viewers, you'll notice it's slightly different. We haven't quite got the technical side sorted yet. We've still got a static camera, which means I can't zoom in, so I do apologise. We are getting that sorted soon, and I'm still going to be using a chair, because we can't angle the camera to do applications on a bed. So that is just to explain how this is going to work at the moment, but we are constantly updating and improving things. So for today, you can bear with us. But we'll look at this one first. So this is easy access, and if Alice can just bring up the data sheet, which is on the website, so that you'll see what information is provided with each of the products. This is available on our new website. Lots of information, good images, explaining this particular sling and the features. You'll have the fabric, everything you need to know. A little application video. So each data sheet is really helpful and downloadable, of course. But if we can just look at the data sheet, this is the information that's coming out to you per sling after the session for all the slings we're going to feature this morning. And you can see basically the measurements, sizing, the fabrics, safe working load, all the information that's available for your information as well. So that's what the data sheets look like. But if we can come back to studio here, please, Alice, and looking at this one. So we're starting with this one because it's a popular structured sling that gives a lot more support, but will give lots of access for hygiene. So for somebody that has variable or poor tone and they can't cope with a standard access sling, then this is a possible suggestion. So my colleague Laura is going to come in. So Laura is going to help you with this. And just to look at it, it's made in this colour. This is a specific feature of this. It's part of the Continental range, which features this type of colour and this type of polyester. The fabric has got a natural sheen, so it helps with inserting. And also this one has got foam throughout. So it's a very firm, rigid sling with foam to the back, to the sides and the legs. The whole sling has got foam sections. But just pointing out a few features on Silvalea, I'm hoping you can see this with the light. We've now moved over to completely woven labels. All the slings will have fully woven, which help to prevent fading. So the labels are legible. Very important that when you're looking at a sling, that your carers look at the label and check that it's legible. If they cannot read it, then they should withdraw it from use because it contravenes the LOLA regulations. So always encourage the carers to do a quick check on the labelling, just to check that you've got the right style, the right size, you're using the right information, or you're laundering it correctly. So things like that's really important. It's all listed on the label. Sizing, date of manufacture, and a unique serial number for traceability. So another thing that should always be encouraged and reminded, check the sling before each use, check that everything is in good order, that there's no stitch breakdown, the tapes are in good condition, there's no threads that have snapped, nothing's caught, the binding's intact. Often slings that have Velcro, they can catch and snag, and then they will have a detrimental effect over time. So always do a quick visual check. Slings won't fail if they're in good condition. Wear and tear will happen over time unless it's been caught and suddenly dragged somewhere. So it is important to keep an eye on things, and if there is any worry, to withdraw it from use. So always check. But going back to this style, I'm going to put it on Laura in the chair. Now, because we're not going too far down, it's just fitting to the waist level. It's easier to put into a tighter chair, so you've not got to struggle down because it's firm and you're just getting to the belt line here. So it fits around the trunk, and then we've got these straps that cross over and feed through on the opposite side. So we're getting a position like that. So it's going to hug the trunk and torso there. Next sections have foam within, so they feed in. Or of course, it's making this look really easy for the session, but you can apply this on the bed or within the chair. And because the sheen, it helps with the application there. Cross the legs over. And then we have got this counterbalance strap. There's 3 straps for this style to think about. So if we build it from the bottom, we're going to apply tapes. Go with the yellow. Tapes are colour coded for ease of reference there. The thoracic strap also has various positions. It depends on how tight you want to go. We're going to go on the yellow here. And then the counterbalance strap needs to go on last. So we're looking at a situation where you've got someone that maybe has a bit of movement, they're a little bit more active, so that this counterbalance will allow them to move and it will just flow. If it's on top on this type of hoist with 1 hook, if you've got other hoists that have got 2 hooks, put it on the back or the side, there's 3 hooks. So if there's 1, just make sure it goes on last. I'm just going to take out the snack, make sure we've got everything connected. But it's going to pull round. It's going to pull round because we're looking at a situation where we've got someone that maybe doesn't have enough trunk support to sit themselves up. So the sling will do that because it's got this foam section here. It is firm and it will keep them more supported. So it's going to fit very firmly around you, Kate.
For God's sake.
So if we now just look at the sling on, you can see the belt line here. So we can see that we can get to clothing if we need to do a hygiene transfer. You can see around here it's hugging Laura's trunk and giving good back support. So if you can just push it back. If she tries to extend, are you trying? Yeah. It's flowing, it's going with her, it's keeping her supported. Can you sort of pull through it? Okay, bring your knees up. So in a situation where you've got a wriggler, you've got someone that's got poorer trunk control, then this style could be considered. It's been very popular for the hygiene transfers that the sling is needed to have more support, because you can see there is a lot of access there. It will fit firm. So the disadvantages are that it's going to fit very firm here. So anyone that's got breathing difficulties or they don't like the restriction, it may not be suitable. It's going to give a slight push up of the bust. So thinking about ladies, young ladies, it will fit firmly around the bust. And it does fit very firm around the belt line there. So anyone that's sort of very curvy, it might bite in. So you just need to think about the body shape. But it has worked very well for athetoid CP, sort of long and slim type situations. There is a good sizing guide on the data sheet. It's quite unusual to do a custom made one. They're normally standard sizes. So it is if you can't fit into the standard size, you need to talk to us because it's unusual that we will be able to do a custom made version, but just talk to us. The counterbalance straps on the side also, if Laura was slightly extended, can you extend back? If she's pushing back and you want to try and get her into a more seated position, you can, if there's two carers, of course, pull on the counterbalance to sit up. So either side will help to pull up. You know, if you're trying to position into an upright chair, it's quite a good feature by having that counterbalance there. So that is the Continental Easy Access style sling. I'll just check with Alice, see if there's any questions or queries on that style.
We just had a question about it being in situ, but I have advised it's not. And then we have a question, will you do an assessment with this sling? Do you mean like trialing, or what do you mean with an assessment?
Okay,
and then we have another question about pediatric sizes.
Yeah, at all the sizes. So on your I've got a data sheet here actually, and I will just tell you. So this is the sheet. On here, the sizes go down to triple extra small, and they go up to extra large. So there's a good range there. Certainly, you should cover the majority. We do have an odd sample. Certainly, you know, we can do an e-assessment with you, show it again, talk about the situation that you think it might be suitable. We do have some dealers throughout the country that will have samples as well. So we will be able to help you trial it, because I know that is often the only way to see if it will be successful. So talk to us if you do have someone that you think this might work for. And was that all the questions there, Alice?
Yep, that's everything. Thanks, Mandy.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Laura. So keeping to the theme of the counterbalance styles, next one I have is our balance sling. So Laura, you can just hold that. So this is made in the Superfine Plus fabric, which is the spacer mesh. So it's quite spongy. It looks quite straightforward. It's quite hooded. It's got a little waist support built in and leg sections that come through that sort of almost deluxe type legs that wrap around the femur. So it's going to give a lot of support to each femur. And then simply a counterbalance strap. So it means you haven't got to work out which shoulder loop to put on. So it is a fairly straightforward style. I'm going to put it on, Laura. It's a divided leg, so we can get it on in a chair or the bed, of course, because it's got a head support. So we just get it down, and there's a waist support, which if we position the waist support, it helps with knowing where the sling position is, because it gets, if it's fitted up here, it's too high, so it's a waist support. So then once you've got that in, we know that it's at the right position. The leg sections have a slip type fabric on both sides to help with the insertion. So they wrap around the femurs here, like that. And then there's a red modesty loop that connects them together. So we've got that type of situation there. And then the outer tape feeds through. You can see here. So we're then getting a pickup from the outside of the leg, which is really good to give more support to the outside and the hip. And as I said, we've just got to think about the leg section and then the counterbalance. These are our safety slot tapes, slightly different to a standard loop, but works in exactly the same way. They're colour coded in the same way. They're just more streamlined. This style has them. You can request standard loops if you prefer, but this sample has a slot. So let's go on green. I always find that when you've got an extender, somebody that really wants to extend and push, shorten the legs a little bit. If they're too low, then it helps to extend. So keep them, try to break up that position there. So I've got a shorter leg. And again, the counterbalance goes on last. So if we've only got one hook on the spreader bar, then it will allow movement. So just take a little snack. It's quite shaped, it's quite hooded. So full bodied, it will support the whole body, wrap around. There is a little bit of access. It's quite bucketed at the bottom though, so limited, but you know, if you've got no clothing, it will still allow for a hygiene transfer. Shaping around the shoulders, so you really are bucketed within it. So if Laura was to extend again, you know, it will allow, it will let her go, it will let the movement happen. It won't restrict her, but it will keep her contained within. And the counterbalance there, you can see it just flows over the top there. So quite a simple style for carers, because they've only got to fit the leg sections and then put this counterbalance on, as I said, but it will naturally give you a more reclined position. So if you need someone to be more upright, then we need to look at a sling that's got the loops that won't allow that. But in a situation where you've got someone that likes to be in that position, moves about, likes the freedom, then this is the in situ, because you can leave it in subject to your risk assessment, but it's the balance, Silvalea balance sling. Leaving slings in, of course, has to be determined on, you know, the individual assessments and working out what the best practice is. It's all about, you know, balance care and working out whether the sling is better being left in. Are there going to be problems in getting the sling in and out, or is it best to leave it in situ? So it's working it out. We can help you with choices, styles. You've got to factor in, you know, you're going to have an aperture here. Is there any risk of the binding? So, you know, you just need to think about all the different options, but certainly we can help you with that. So let me just take Laura down a little bit. And again, you can see she's reclined. So if we've got another carer, Laura, you can hold that. And if we pull on it's going to sit her up as we go down. If you think that's, you know, too much to get them into a position in the chair, then we can use the straps. Let me check. Are the questions on the balance sling? Yes.
Hi, Mandy. I've done the questions. I don't think we have any more, unless anyone has any.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're doing well. So the next thing, and if you're a regular viewer, you might know this one well, but it's the in situ deluxe. The in situ deluxe, I thought I would, you know, feature because it's a really good style and it meets the needs of a lot of situations. And certainly it's good to explain the features of it. This one is made in our superfine fabric, which is a lightweight mesh. And hopefully you can see that because it looks quite fine through the lighting. Superfine is a fabric that's got some give. So it's got a lot of give, which will hug curvatures nicely and find the natural contours of the body shape. Also, it has got Coolmax in. So the Coolmax, which is inherent within the fibres, will help to wick away moisture and help to keep the moisture away from the body. So it's quite a nice lightweight fabric, really good for pediatrics, smaller adults, because it is lightweight. If they're in a tight chair, of course, it will help with, it's less bulky. It has a weight limit of 10 stone, but we can do a double layer, which will take it up to 35 stone. So if you do need to go higher, we can do. And the reason we do a double layer is because there's so much give. It's very stretchy. So if we put a heavier weight in, it will just stretch and stretch before it lifts. So we stabilize it by putting the double layer in. But this is the deluxe shape. Again, we can put it on in the chair or on the bed, because we've got a head support. I'm just going to make sure. So with slings, it's important to get them really down behind the bottom here, so the leg sections can come around and fit towards the knee. If you're fitting it quite high, the leg sections will be too far back and then they'll bite into the groin. So it's really important to get them down towards the knee. Top section will sort itself out. So don't think I've got to line this up to make sure it's in the right place. No, just get it down and low. It's more important. Deluxe legs, so they wrap around. Again, this one's got the slip fit fabric around on either side of each paddle, so it's easier to get in. If you struggle though, there's lots of tips and techniques. Mitts, I think I've got a mitt. Slide sheets here. These mitts here, if you're getting something caught and it's hard to smooth it, then mitts are really good to check that you've got nothing snagging and catching. Or slide sheets that you can use as a roller to insert to help get the sling in. Various sizes. This is a small rolling one, cylinder one. We do flat ones as well, but really helpful. The little ones particularly to help with getting the sling smoothly underneath so that you're not shearing too much. So there's always lots of tips that everyone can share to help with making it an easier experience. But the leg sections come through and connect together with this modesty here, and then the outside tape feeds through. So if we just apply it, we'll go long. I'll do the hips in a moment. I'll just explain that. Going to go on yellow. Yours being helpful, thank you. We'll just take up the slack and just check that. So the superfine will naturally stretch around the body. Okay, right. So deluxe leg shapes, I think, they're really useful if you've got anybody that wriggles. So if you wriggle, the individual paddles on the legs will naturally go with that person. If you've got someone that's got a severe curvature and they're very asymmetrical, then they will adjust because they're separate. And also because the sling is being attached from the outside here, it's picking up the outside of the leg, which means it's much more comfortable than if you can picture a traditional general purpose shape that comes through the legs. So this one is much more comfortable, giving more femur support here. Just put your foot on there, spinning. And then I've added in this scenario a hip tape. Hip tapes will help to lift the hip, which is really helpful if you've got someone that's got painful joints, arthritis, osteoporosis, more, fragile, brittle bone type scenarios where you need, lots more support. It will help to lift that area, distribute the weight, and it takes pressure from behind the knee. So a hip tape on this style is really beneficial. And they usually are detachable. Just unhook one so you can see. If you don't need them, then they can be taken off. And they are, let's hope I can get the light for you, on a slider, adjustable slider that you find the setting. There is a little plastic bar. It used to be a metal D-ring. We've changed the metal D-ring to a bar, so it's less clunky. But we put it there because if I extend this, I'm then struggling to open that loop. So that's why there's a bar or a D-ring. So once you've got your setting, push the bar and the D-ring out the way. But if I just attach it, it feeds through, knots back on itself. And we need to set it so the tension is the same as the leg. So we need to pick them up simultaneously. It's a bit loose now, it's not doing anything. So I'd have to just take Laura down and take the tension up properly. But it will literally just lift. Makes a huge difference. So if you're trying to problem solve and help with more comfort, then the hip tapes are good. They're also good if you've got someone that's really curved. They've got a significant curvature. Their legs are windswept. You can adjust them asymmetrically. So because they're on sliders, you can then adjust the tapes to help. Just giving a better transferring position. So really useful there. Let me just turn Laura around. You can see the sling is naturally hugging Laura. It's because it's got the nice soft stretch. Put your head back there. The head support there, I've taken out the bones. The bones look like this. And they slot in. But sometimes they can be too rigid and too stiff. So I've taken them out. And you need to take them out for laundering as well. But you've got a head support tape here. So it will support the head without the bones in. And they are on a slider buckle. Undo that so that you can see. But you could take it directly up to the spreader bar, because sometimes the direction of the tape helps. And if it's too low, it may not be as supportive. So you could take it up and it gives a different direction, if you can see up there. And then you take it back through the slider and through the other side. So it's got to be secured that way. So you've got an option there. The other option, if you don't need a head support or you still think you need a bit more neck support, then we've got the neck rolls. Got one here, and that nestles there in the neck. And that often is more comfortable than a full head support that could force the head forward. And that can be positioned to the side if someone's leaning. And it just gets inserted. Around. Behind. There. And attached to the shoulder tape. Again, it's the same as the head support. It's got a loop, slider and a buckle. You just need to fix through one of the loops to keep it in position. Once it's set in position, then it's set. But it is sometimes better than having, the head force forward with a head support. So an accessory there that's helpful. The superfine fabric, because it's a mesh, also often people will have several because they can use that bathing as well. It's a softer mesh than the standard polyester, so it's quite nice to have one for the bathing transfers because it is a mesh and it's got holes in it. So that's the in situ deluxe. And I know we did sort of touch on in situ. We make it as smooth as we can. So in situ slings, we look at the tailoring. If they're going to be left in for extended periods, then we're conscious to remove any bulk. There's no handles, so there's no risk of any pressure. It's as smooth as we can. If you are leaving it in and you're still worried about these leg sections, they can be eased out and removed and put to the side. There's very little sling. It's fitted around here. It's a very little sling underneath. But it really is down to an individual risk assessment as to whether it's going to be appropriate. So working out whether it's easier. If someone doesn't like to be handled, you need to reduce the handling and application of the sling. So it might be helpful in that scenario. But certainly, you know, there's more to it. You know, you can't say we've got an in situ sling, we can leave it in on everybody. You really do need to risk assess each individual situation. But we can help you. Certainly, we've got different styles and we have different fabrics. So we can certainly help with your choices. So Alice, just tell me if there's any queries on this one before I go on.
Yeah, we've got a couple. So the first one, do we have any videos which illustrate more fully the use of multi-glide gloves and slide sheets for sling fitting?
Okay, well, actually, we don't currently have them, but we are planning to do lots more videos, lots more tips and techniques and application advice from next month. So it's something that will be gradually built in, but as we've only just moved into this room this week, we've got to get the camera all sorted, and then we've got better directional cameras to be able to do that for you. But if you are struggling with things, we can always link up and go through some tips and on a one-to-one. We can try and manage, you know, with little sessions like that, if that will help. But not at the moment. We haven't got the videos done yet.
And the next question is, what would you suggest for an 8-year-old who has managed to thrash around so much when in the air being hoisted, she has come forward out of her sling, similar to your balance sling but from a different company, and so is hanging in the sling, held in by the Velcro waistband, tummy facing the floor. She can also, in a different scenario, get her legs up to the spreader bar.
Oh, okay. So, right, okay. When someone is that determined, it's going to be tricky. But we do have a sling I will show you in a minute, or I think, yes, that's the penultimate one, is the Tinkham. Our Tinkham sling, which is really all singing or dancing. That may give you some idea of what that will do. But certainly the deluxe will help. You've got to try and break up the extension, and often you need to keep the legs short, shoulders protracted. Maybe the neck roll will help. Keep them fixed in that position to help prevent them doing that, twisting, falling. We can try, but as I said, if they're that determined, it's going to be tricky. You know, we've got to be careful we don't restrain them. So it's a balance, but we can put chest straps in the slings. So you could, just to keep them safer and the sling with them, it can be a chest level, which would be under the bust for a lady or a youngster, on the chest for a gentleman, or a waist strap, which will keep the sling all together. Certainly, we've got harnesses that will keep the sling on, but we'll look at the Tinkham, and maybe then that may be another idea for you. So bear with us on that one for a minute. Any more, Alice?
We've got one question about what hoists are compatible with these slings, but I'm just about to put our compatibility statement link in the chat, so that will take you to the website. And the other question, do you have a moving and handling risk assessment that includes the use of the straps, etc., that we can fill in and pass on to carers?
Okay, the moving and handling risk assessment, that needs to be done by a healthcare professional. So whoever's doing the risk assessment and the care plan will have to determine that. So they will look at the options, they will look at the style, they will look at the fabric choices, suitability for the transfers, the pickup positionings, saying which colour coding is required for this person and this transfer. So it's a care plan done by a healthcare professional. We are not moving and handling advisors, we are product specialists. We know the products, we know their suitability, but it will always be down to that healthcare professional to make that final decision.
The next question is, sorry, Rebecca, I did miss your question. Would this help for someone with fixed scoliosis whose upper body tends to slip out of other in situ slings?
Quite possibly, yes, because of the stretch. If you've got someone that is, as we sort of explained earlier, severe curved sort of kyphotic scoliosis, having the deluxe legs helps the adjustment of the hip tapes. Certainly, I know a lot of therapists are very inventive. They will have a shorter shoulder one side to help sort of counteract that disproportionate shape. So, long as it's thoroughly risk assessed, the sling will certainly be able to do that. So yes, it's a good option. Certainly the deluxe leg, we've known has been very successful in that type of situation. The counterbalance strap, although it's simpler, it won't let you stabilize the top section. So it will have a limitation in that respect.
And just finally, Leslie came back about the Tinkham and said they have trialled that, but it wasn't successful. But we can always organise a link up and help as well.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about the Tinkham though, and I can explain some of the options, additional options that may help. But we'll finish with this one. We'll get Laura out of this one. And then we'll...
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you. Thanks, Alice. My next style was a sling that was developed for specifically for muscular dystrophy type situations, when you've got someone who has very poor tone or diminishing tone. So it needed a sling with much more structure. And we have this one, which is a silver supportive sling. It has a double panel down the back, which is padded. So it gives more support to the trunk area, but a simple shape. So this sort of general purpose shape sling with the built-in hip tapes, which will help with lifting and distributing the weight that way. Arched head support, but a little feature of the elasticated side there, which will allow a little bit of movement there. Just quickly put this on. The leg sections will have foam in, so they give a lot more support than a standard sling. So it's quite thick, quite bulky across those legs. This one's got the silver safety slot on, which we had showed you earlier. Sorry, we'll go on the green. We're going to go on the green leg. The hip tapes are on red blue, and then we'll try red. We used to, a while ago, have several styles of slings that we named, like the muscular dystrophy sling, the cerebral palsy sling. And we didn't want to limit it just to that type of situation, because we knew the slings would work in many situations. So we've slightly changed the names, but because we know, you're all right, that for muscular dystrophy scenarios, a lot more support's needed. So we know this has worked well in that situation. So it's made in the Superfine Plus fabric, the spacer, the thicker spacer fabric. And it is very structured. So it is quite firm in the back. As I said, a double layer here, full length bones there. If you put your head back, Laura, there's a little bit of elastication there, which will give a little bit of, allow a little bit of movement, but quite simple. It's not featured as a main sling on the website, but you can get to it as an offline product because it's not popular, but available for you know, sort of different situations and ones that aren't regularly requested. But it's quite useful just to see that there is another option. They're quite a straightforward one, and it is the silver supported. We will let you have the data sheet, of course, so that you can see the information on there. I don't know if there's any questions on that one.
Just a question, is it an in-situ sling?
Because it's so bulky, you'd have to risk assess that. It's quite a thick back section here. It is a double layer there, so it may be too bulky for that purpose, but you know, it would need to be risk assessed. That's all I can say, really. Any other questions on that, Alice?
Nope, no more questions.
So now we're coming on to the tin can, which was developed for really active users. Let me just explain it. It's quite a beast, actually. You just hold it up. And this is a sling that I would say works better custom made. So it fits like a glove and it fits well. So the original request for this was a wriggler, a bit like the scenario that one of our guests was talking about. Wriggles, twists, extends, escaped out of everything. So the idea was to find something that he could wear that would help to break up the extension by keeping him forward, his shoulders protracted, his hips flexed, just to keep him safe. I mean, the idea is to keep him safe for the transfer. And it worked really well in his situation, certainly. So we've introduced it as a sling that we can offer. But it needs lots of adjustment, practicing and settings, because there looks to be lots of tapes here. So, you know, we do need to go through it as carefully as we can. It probably needs to be applied on the bed better, but as we haven't got that, we'll have to manage here. First thing is to get the waist support in position. So this is going to go just under the waist in the middle. And you're going to wear it. So it's wrapping the sling around so it actually comes around and to wear it. So that is the first thing. Don't try and line up the top. There is a nice neck roll built in that you often find people want to line that up first, get it in the neck, even though on the bed, we've got to get the neck roll in position. That will sort itself out when the hoist takes up the slack and the body naturally fits into the sling and the fabric stretches around. So the key thing is to fit it low and at the waist. So that is the first thing for positioning. The leg sections are made with a slip fit either side. So to get those in, then and they pull round. And there are two types of modesty. Don't know whether we can see that. Just let me twist the chair a little bit towards the front, please. That's it. I want you to just see here, we've got a modesty strap here and one there. So we're feeding one leg paddle through and then through the top. So we're doing everything we can to keep those legs together in that position there. There are two sets of hip tapes and there is a shoulder tape, a hip support tape. So lots going on. But if we build it from the bottom, so we're starting with the leg, we go on yellow, we keep it short. The two sets of hip tapes, now with these, we need to maybe adjust so that the lower one towards the knee is shorter than the higher one, so that you're keeping that flexed. So you may have to have slight adjustment there, but they're on the slider, so you can do that. Then we've got the shoulder. shoulder. So you can see it's much easier to apply on a bed. And certainly with real active wrigglers, probably will need several carers. They're very challenging. So we'll just take up the slack slowly, and I have purposely not put the head support on yet. I'm going to wrap around Laura. All right. Check we've got everything on. We would just see what it looks like. With this arm here, you can see actually there it's wearing the sling, wrapping around, still aperture, still possible to do a hygiene transfer. It's buffeting her legs there. The head support tape you can add, but there's a neck roll in there. It's actually ridden up to her neck now as she's stretched within the fabric. But if we just down a little bit, I just hook up the head support, and there's several different settings here, but if we put it on the short one, and ask Laura if she can extend. So if she extends or twists. And I know one of our guests has said, can you lean forward, get through it forward? Can you pull yourself? You know, if someone's very strong, very determined, as I said, they will go. But I don't know whether, shortening the hips, slightly reclining may help. It's a fiddle to try and work it out. And I know it's very difficult when you've got someone that's very challenging, but it has been very successful for a lot of situations. Of course, every style is going to have a limitation when you find someone so extreme. But we had a situation recently where you put your arms inside. Somebody wanted to just keep pulling at the tapes and fiddling and getting tangled up. So we've made a little wrap that went around and enclosed their arms. Velcro soft toweling wrap. You put your arms around your chest across there, and it just kept them. There was movement. It allowed them to move, but it meant that they weren't getting tangled up. So it was sort of safeguarding them from tangling up and for them lashing out and hitting carers. So we just added this band. It's called a butterfly harness. If anyone would like more information on that, just let us know. But in combination of this style, it helped. But I don't know. Let's see if there's any questions and how I can help with this one.
We have got a couple, Mandy. First one, do you always recommend building from the bottom with every sling, or doesn't it make a difference with standard slings?
I do with this one because I like to know I'm building up. But sometimes I had one with this certain style. They were applying it on the bed, and they needed to lower the spreader bar down to almost get them into a seated position before they finished the application of the other tapes. So because they didn't have a profiling bed. So it depends on each situation and each policy for the organisation. I don't know I wouldn't say there's a hard and fast rule. It just depends on what you get used to, what you're comfortable with, and what works.
Next question, what is the limit for this type of sling?
Limit in condition, maybe. Limit. If it's a weight limit, then it's like a standard sling. We can make it up to 35 stone. The fabric's capable of going that far. Limitations of use. Again, one of our guests is saying that she's got someone that pulls right forward. As I said, if they are so strong and determined to do that, we may have a limit to its success. So, we had a situation in New Zealand a couple of years ago where they had to position the neck in a very accurate position. Otherwise, if they flopped forward, we'd cut off their airways. So adjusting it in that instance, this worked perfectly, and they'd exhausted all other styles. So, you know, it's a very individual style, an individual success style as well. So it's difficult to know.
Yeah, they did mean weight limit. So the
Okay.
Superfine Plus does go up to 35 stone,
Yes.
which is 220 kilograms. The next question is, would it be helpful to use a 4-point spreader bar with this type of sling?
Okay, possibly. The 4-point will open it up. So it opens up the pickup. Will that mean it will open up an extension? Possibly. So it will depend. If you're trying to contain someone and keep them protracted like that, then, you know, a 2-point or 3-point's fine. But if you're opening it up, it will just open up the whole body. So you just need to work that out if it is going to open up too much.
That's everything. Thank you, Mandy.
But we're all right for time. I'm conscious. I wasn't sure how long we'd take. I know we did allow an hour, but I have got one more style if you're able to stay on. It is a harness. So I understand people have to go. And if they do, thank you very much for your time. I hope it's been helpful, and please always come to us if you have any queries. We can help you as much as we can. So the last style, thanks Laura, is a harness which is a particular beast and difficult to explain. So I'm hoping Alice will bring up the data sheet on the website so I can just talk you through this harness. It's very complicated, and it needs to be applied on the bed, and it probably will be one of the videos we do to start with, because when we've got an angled camera we can film it better. It's going to be hard to show you on a standing, but we will do our best. But it's a really good harness. It's made of neoprene fabric, which is like a wetsuit material which hugs the body. So it really does stretch and give lots of trunk and pelvic stability, because if it's elasticated, it's really, really supportive. It's been very successfully used with children with athetoid CP, acquired brain injuries, those with lots of movement, often used for rehabilitation. Can be used in a pool, of course, because it's made of that neoprene fabric. So, you know, it is a good one, but it is complicated, and it may be too complicated and you cannot possibly cope with it. But if we look at the instructions, because there's lots of really good pictures. So there's lots of different tapes, and if I can just explain, we've shown you how to fit it step by step to make it easier. And I know we've sent these out to people with a sample, and they worked through it really successfully. So it will help having these with the product. But you fit it around the waist, lower waist towards the hip, and stretch it around that part of the body. And then if we scroll up to the next one, please, Alice, you've got elasticated sections that come from the back around the front to fit on the opposite sides, which help to then give the stability to the hip sections. These are thick elasticated sections that pull around to fit and give support. So there's 2 hip ones, thanks Alice, and then there's 2 higher ones. There's a groin strap that comes through. They're all color coded, so hopefully it will help with your, you know, matching it up. Comes through the groin. Then there's a top strap that helps to prevent the shoulder tapes falling off the shoulders. So it looks really, really complicated, but it's like a harness, a parachute harness, people often refer it to. But if I've got one here, and I'm going to do my best to put it on Laura, just to give you a better idea. And it's, as I said, you need to apply it on a changing table or bed. But if I hook it up, Laura, can you just give me a And just to start it off, so if we just going to improvise, I'm going to hook it up onto the voice just so that we can see it a bit more clearly. Unfortunately, it is black. So we've got this trunk section that will stretch around, and then let's we just put that one. Just take this up higher. Okay, that's too high. So Laura stretches it around. It's got to fit waist. Bring it around. The Velcro, it's got lots of Velcro on, which catches significantly, and there will be pads and patches that will protect it. That's the first thing, to stabilize the hip area. And then the patches, which are color coded, I'm going to brace yourself, pull it around the opposite patch of Velcro on that hip and repeat it. There's a patch here, take the protective patch off, then pull that round here. So that's one section. There's a red section that then comes under the bust. So just building it to give support there. So we've got that tucked in. Then we have the groin straps that come through. Back to your front clip there. And your arms go through the hoist straps there. And then the last patch is to keep prevent the straps falling off the shoulders. So that goes over. You got that one? You can see it's a monster. But I know we've used it really well. For someone that just wants, they've got absolutely, zero tone, they need to get them on their feet. It's all about well-being, get them upright. And this will do this with practice. But if Laura, I'm struggling with my voice to go high enough, but if Laura was to lose tone, she's like suspended in her parachute. So it looks like that. Do you want to swivel around just so that we can see? So it's giving a lot of support, but as I said, it is a difficult, complicated one. But if you have a scenario that you think it might work, it's worth trying, then just let us know. But can you actually fall right through it? No. So yes, that's the neoprene harness. As I said, we'll send you the information. If it's helpful, then we can talk further about it. But basically, that's it. I know there's random styles. Some are featured on the website fully. Some are available offline. But we can give you all the information. Just let us know if you need anything else or there's any queries. But Alice, are there any final questions from anybody?
No final questions. Just from me, I will be sending out an email with the recording and any the GT prospectus, so training prospectus, and also a list of the slings data sheets that we've looked at today. I am sending an email out to ask for feedback, so any feedback you've got on these sessions, we do really appreciate, and hope to see you at some of our other sessions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alice, very much for sorting out the admin and keeping everyone, although all their questions answered, and keeping everyone live within the session. But thank you for your time. We will, as I said, we're starting to do some film snippets which will help and enhance the sessions more, particularly from bed applications, which I know has been requested. Certainly we are planning that, so please bear with us on that. But thank you for your time. Thank you to Laura for helping me. And if we can do anything at all, or there's any sessions that you would like to see, please let me know. We'll try and factor that in, because we want to provide useful information, of course. But thank you very much, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.